Hello! Lately, I have been having a trousers moment. Exhibit A. So this whole winter, I've been very much leaning into dark academia in my fashion choices, and I've thrifted a lot of really cool trousers, but I think it is time to tackle my fear of two-legged garments and make my own trousers. Fingers crossed this goes well. So if you have been on this channel for a bit, you may remember my 1890s walking suit. That included a very nice double-breasted waistcoat, which I thought was just the coolest thing. And so recently I have decided that I need some matching trousers so that I can wear the whole ensemble together and it will be very cool, in my opinion. Now, have I made trousers before? No, of course not. So this is probably gonna be a little bit of a train wreck, but I will be taking you along with me as we figure this whole thing out. So for my pattern, I have picked up this one. This is by Simplicity. It is, I should have looked this up before, Simplicity 8447. I think it is actually a vintage pattern. It's either vintage or vintage recreation. I mean, it says vintage on it, so I'm assuming that it is a vintage pattern. I will just be making the trousers, that is view A. It's got this really cool, like, side closure thing, which I think is gonna be really good with the double-breasted waistcoat. I also love that it's a vintage design. I've never actually made any 1940s patterns before, so this should be interesting. 1940s is a new one for me, so maybe I will start to fall in love with the 1940s silhouette. You never know. The pattern does come with like a teensy pocket, which I'm sure was great in the 1940s, but we've got modern smartphones, so that's gonna have to change. Did I just say smartphones? Jesus Christ. I haven't decided yet if I want to keep the patch pocket or if I want to do my usual inseam pocket. We'll try the patch pocket. We'll see how it looks on the mock-up. So when I was making my 1890s walking suit, I bought this wool. I got 6¼ meters of it, if I recall correctly. It's beautiful plaid wool, and it was an absolute steal. It was £6 a meter. So I only used 4 meters of it for the costume. So I've still got just under 3 meters, I think, which should be just enough to squeeze out these trousers. I've got it kind of in pieces. I don't remember why. So with that in mind, let's do a little bit of a cost breakdown for this project. I'm using a lot of stuff from my stash for this, so it's gonna be cheaper for me than it maybe would if you were buying everything new. So I'll try and estimate how much it would cost you if you had to buy everything from scratch, if you were looking at similar prices as me. I tend to get a lot of my fabric really cheap. There is an excellent store in the Kilburn Market. It's called Rainbow Fabrics. I talk about in every single video because it's pretty much where I get my fabric, and they sell dead stock, so they have really good prices on everything. So we've got this wool. This was £6 a meter. I need 3 meters of that. For my lining, I have bought 3 meters of this brown satin. This was £3 a meter. The pattern wants interfacing. I have got this calico canvas that I bought for my last project. This was £4 a meter. I'm gonna need way less than a meter of it, but let's call it £4 just to be safe. I have buttons, which I cannot find the exact listing for anymore, but let's estimate that they were around £3. Thread would be about £2.50. I'm gonna use whatever I've got lying around, so I'm not gonna buy new thread for this, I don't think. And the pattern I got off of eBay for about £14. So altogether, this project is only gonna cost me about £23 because I had a lot of the stuff already. If you were buying everything new, it would be just over £50. So that does feel like it's a little bit on the pricier side for me. I don't tend to buy £50 trousers. If you were to make these trousers from a different material or forego the lining, if you were using something like cotton, you might not need a lining, then that would lower the price somewhat. So I think it could be affordable, but I'm pretty happy with it because this is mostly a stash busting project for me, and I only really bought the lining fabric and the pattern, so it ends up being a pretty good price for me. So today I am just gonna be working on the mock-up. I'm definitely not gonna skip the mock-up on this because I've never made trousers before. Even without that, I can kind of tell that I'm gonna be like kind of in between size on this pattern, so I don't imagine that one of these is gonna fit me exactly perfectly. I'm also very short, so I know I'm gonna have to alter the length of these. Even the trousers I've thrifted, I had to hem nearly all of them because I'm very short. Now, the pattern comes on this tissue paper, which frankly terrifies me. So the first thing I'm gonna do is trace out the size that I need. I have never actually cut into one of these tissue paper patterns. I always trace whatever size I need to preserve it, which is, you know, it's nice for if I want to resell the pattern later or, you know, lending it to a friend who might have a different size. I'm gonna trace it first and then we will get to the mock-up. With all of that out of the way, let's get to sewing. Right, so I have cut out all of the pieces. Now I can already tell that this is like massive. They have marked where you can lengthen and shorten the pattern. So I'll just be taking my own measurements and doing it on the pattern itself before I cut out my mock-up. I think that makes the most sense. But yeah, it's a bit strange because I've measured the paper and I can't tell if they've like added a whole lot of extra ease to this. The whole thing just looks massive. So I'm gonna do some alterations on the paper before I get to the mock-up just so I don't waste any fabric. It took a while to trace out all the pattern pieces. There's only 5. There's the front, the back, the underlap, the overlap, basically the placket, and then the waistband. It always takes a while to trace these things out, but I think it is good in the long run to not mess up the pattern. I don't think I'm gonna get to the mock-up today because it's like 7 p.m. and I should have dinner and get to bed a bit early. I've got to be up early tomorrow. So yeah, that's where we're at. Alright, here is the mock-up. It looks better than I thought it would. I mean, obviously I hate the color and it clashes terribly with this jumper, but that's beside the point. Yeah, it fits okay. Now that I've reduced the size to a size that is more appropriate. First of all, I keep having the habit to put my hands in my pockets, so I think that solves that issue for me. I think I want to do inseam pockets. I mean, don't get me wrong, the patch pockets are cute, but I'm just so used to having inseam pockets. And I could do one for decoration, maybe, because that's not bad. And once I like fold in the seam allowance and everything. I guess it wouldn't hurt to have a third pocket. I've never complained about having too many pockets in my garments, so maybe I'll do that as just an accent and I'll have the inseam pockets anyway, because I think I would like that. Or at least I'll have one inseam pocket, because this is actually the opening. It opens on the side and it's going to have buttons. Obviously I didn't do that for the mock-up because it doesn't matter. I'm just standing here kind of trying to figure out how I feel about it. It's still a little bit big, which confuses me because again, I've gone down 2 sizes and I don't understand why it's still big. Like, I probably could go down 1 more size. I don't necessarily want to cut the pattern out again because it was enough of a hassle cutting it out twice, let alone a 3rd time. Yeah, I do need to take in the waist ever so slightly. That's maybe like 1/2 inch. That's not so bad. I'll take in a 1/4 inch on each of the side seams. All of my trousers that I own that are high-waisted, they all feel like this, where they just feel like, I'm trying to avoid saying the word crotch on YouTube. The inseam feels like it starts a little bit low. That is my way of avoiding that word on YouTube because I'm awkward. What I was thinking is that if I start just below the dart and I kind of maybe take it up 1 inch, and then I kind of do that like all the way around, that brings things a little bit closer to where they should be. So if I just kind of cut the pattern right here, right before this curve gets too dramatic, cut it right here, take out 1 inch, move that up, tape it back together, and then just kind of smooth out this line so that this part stays completely unchanged. Let me take out 1 inch on the mock-up and put it back together. So this is kind of what I was thinking. I've like taken 1 inch and just kind of folded it out of the way. And already I think that feels a lot better. I also did just do like a little squat to make sure that the seams aren't gonna rip if I do that. Because I don't know how trousers work. I've never made trousers. We are on this adventure together, but that does feel like it's sitting in a better place, and it's like, it's not uncomfortable, but I feel like it's a bit more flattering. So I think that's the game plan. I'm gonna do what I said. I'm gonna cut the pattern below the darts, and I'm gonna take in the side seams, and then I think we're ready for the real thing. Progress, yay. I don't know if I mentioned that I'm gonna do a bag lining for these trousers. I had thought about flat lining it, but honestly, like, finishing the seams is just gonna be a bit annoying with something this slippery. So I think I'm just gonna not finish the seams. I'm just gonna do a bag lining, especially because the trousers came together so easily yesterday in the mock-up. I don't think it would be too difficult to do a bag lining. So this is what we've got. The lining is pretty much done. What is on my, is that fuzz from the satin? Why? Oh my god, I freaking hate satin. Working with this fabric was so annoying. I do really like how this looks, like once I actually pinch in this side placket thing, which obviously I've left this open because it's gonna be a button up the side thingy. Squat test. We good? Always with the squat test because I do not want to split a seam on these trousers. So next I've got to actually cut out the wool and then do the whole shebang with the wool and then bag line the thing and then it's done. So actually I think we're doing okay, but I'm gonna leave it here for today. The sewing gods have smiled upon me today. My bobbin just ran out as I was finishing the seam. It literally, like, this much was left. Thank goodness. I gotta refill the bobbin though, which is annoying. Okay, I figured I should probably explain what I'm doing because I don't know if this will make any sense. So this is the front facing and I've attached, well, I have pinned a bit of canvas here for interfacing. You're probably supposed to use fusible interfacing and just iron it on, but I don't have any and I wanted to use up the canvas, so it's fine. They wanted me to like zigzag stitch along this edge, so instead I've just folded it under. I'm gonna fell this down. And then this bit I think will get fell down to the actual trouser, so I don't think I need to do anything here yet. And then this bit will get stitched to the trousers, so that's what will keep the interfacing in place, hopefully. Anyway, so that's a bit of hand sewing I need to do, and then the other bit of hand sewing that I want to get done before I go to bed tonight, I'm just going to understitch the pocket seam allowance. I don't know if I've ever actually explained what understitching is. You stitch the seam allowance to, in this case, the pocket, and that way it just kind of encourages the seam to pull taut and to roll to the inside. So when I'm wearing the trousers, you're not going to see the pockets sort of like start to come out like this. It's going to stay really nice and clean to the inside. So yeah, I'm going to understitch the pocket and I'm going to stitch this bit to the interfacing. So here is what we've got. I'm really pleased with the pattern matching. I think I did a pretty good job with that. I kind of want to try it with the waistcoat, which I think is a bad idea because I don't have like the waistband on or anything, but I gotta try it with the waistcoat. I mean, yeah, that is a really fun look. The more I'm looking at these though, I'm wondering if they're a little big still, which is so frustrating because, you know, I altered the stupid pattern so many times. But I want to like them. I don't know why I don't like them. I don't hate them. I'm just not in love with them, which confuses me. They just seem really big in the hips. Like they're not that big, but they're not like slimming exactly. They just, maybe it's the horizontal stripes. Maybe that's the issue. I mean, it's plaid, so it's gonna have, like, it has the vertical stripes, but I feel like they're not as prominent as these ones. I don't have much left to do on these trousers. I basically have to do the placket, I need to make buttons and buttonholes, and I need to do the waistband and hem the bottom, and that's it. I may be going to Cambridge this weekend, and today's Tuesday, so I would really like to have it done by Saturday. But I also have realized now that it is 10 p.m. and I have work at 5:30 a.m. I should probably get to bed. I mean, I'm gonna sleep on it and see if I like them better next time I put them on, but I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about them. It's very weird. I don't know. Okay, so I've done a little bit more work on the trousers, and I didn't film it because I was talking on the phone with a friend while I was sewing, so I just didn't film any of it. But basically, all I did was, I did the front facing, so that was really easy, just attached it right sides together, flipped it over, and felled it down to the lining. And then basically the same with the underlap, except that just kind of gets folded in half like that. It doesn't get folded all the way around, just like that. The only thing is that I sort of overshot it a bit when I was sewing on the front facing. I wasn't really paying attention. When I put this together, like I would if I was buttoning it up, let's see. Yeah, you can see there's like a little bit of a pucker there. It's not a huge deal. I'm debating whether I want to like unpick it and fix it, because basically what I would have to do is unpick this bit and then take off just a bit of the stitching here, because you can actually see where I've overshot it. You could see it probably should have ended right there, and I just went a little bit too far, like literally not even a centimeter, but it's causing that weird pucker. And I feel like I should fix it. I don't want to, but I'm sure it will make the whole thing look neater in the end, so I might just fix that quickly. The other thing I did was, this is the waistband, and I've just pressed it into place, and this is just a bit of canvas interfacing. I probably should flatline it and baste it, but I don't think it'll matter all that much, really. But yeah, I've just pressed in the seam allowance, and I've pressed the waistband in half, and that will just go on. So I'm gonna go and fix the placket thingy real quick, and then I'll sew on the waistband. So I just unpicked the bottom here and then unpicked a little bit up and then stitched it back down essentially, and that has really helped. I'm glad that I did that. It was annoying, but now this is laying a lot more flat and I'm not getting that weird pucker right here. Waistband is all done. I think it looks pretty good. I might give it a good press just to kind of get that canvas sitting nicely in there. I'm gonna cover my buttons with some scrap wool and then attach those and do the buttonholes. I was gonna like measure how many buttons I need, but apparently I only have 5 left of this size, so I guess we're doing 5 buttons and that'll just have to do. I think they'll be fine. Buttons are done. I think they look pretty good. Under flap got like a little bit warped. I maybe should have pressed it a little bit better. And I have marked the buttonholes, so I'm gonna do those on the machine. I don't have enough brown thread, so we're gonna go with gray because I've got a buttload of this one. And to be fair, 2 out of 5 of the buttonholes are gonna be on the gray bit of the fabric anyway, so it's fine. They're buttonholes, hardly anyone's ever gonna see them. Okay, it is ever so slightly higher than it should be, but you know what? It'll do. It's fine. It's fine. Buttons and buttonholes are done. It's a little wobbly. You can see that it didn't quite line up, but you know what? It's fine. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Like they just look really big, and I don't know why. Maybe it is just that I haven't hemmed them and they are like long at the moment, clearly. That is the last thing I have to do, is hem them, and I also do want to put on this little patch pocket. Yeah, you know, they sure are trousers. At this point, I'm very skeptical of these trousers. I don't think hemming them is gonna make all that much difference. Like, they just look huge on me, and I don't like the way they make me feel, which is really disappointing. But you know, it was an experience. I'm learning things on how to make trousers. I'm learning that this pattern needs to be sized way, way, way down. I did compare these to a pair of trousers that I own that I really, really like. And those trousers are like just barely less wide than these. So it is possible that it's the pattern that's like, and by pattern I mean it's the plaid that's making me feel like they're really big. It could just be that optical illusion of the horizontal stripes. Yeah, I think I'll hem it first and then put on the patch pocket. So just a bit of hand sewing for the end of the night. I should probably be able to finish these tonight, and then I guess I'll see you in Cambridge for a reveal. Okay, so I was gonna wear these to Cambridge and give you some really nice reveal shots, and I can't wear these to Cambridge. I just can't wear these to Cambridge. Oh, I don't like them. Yeah, they're just not very flattering. Now, I bought these trousers. I didn't make these, and they're actually ever so slightly wider, or about as wide as these ones. And they're just so much more flattering on me, and I think it's the vertical stripes. I think my fatal mistake was putting these stripes horizontal. And like, yeah, they match the waistcoat, but at what cost, man? At what cost? Yeah, I don't think the waistcoat helps. It might actually make it worse somehow, which I didn't think was possible. Also, the patch pocket is on crooked, and it's a little wobbly, and also I hemmed the bottom unevenly. I don't know how I managed that. You can kind of see that I folded it to like 2 different stripes. So the hem doesn't match. Yeah, I hate it. I'm thinking I might just change into these trousers because I want today to be a nice day. I don't want to be like worrying about how awful my trousers look the whole time. And maybe I'm like exaggerating. Maybe they don't look awful, but they don't look good. See, I feel so much more confident in these. And I don't know why, because they're like a very similar width, but they're just more flattering. I have a feeling it's because these trousers, because they're like vintage, they really flare out at the hips. Because I'm short-waisted, I think that's really not a good look on me. Because it adds so much bulk here. We're gonna wear this to Cambridge and I'm gonna have a good day. Because life is too short to be worrying about things like sewing bad trousers. I need to finish these. I need to either fix them or give up on them because, as you may be able to tell, I'm considering it's spring now. It's 20 degrees today, Celsius. It's like 70, I don't know. I've gotten good at converting between them, but I still like don't know which one to use, and it takes me a second. Anyway, these are winter trousers. They're wool. Like, I'm not gonna wear them in the spring, so they need to be done because I want to move on to other projects, but I don't want to move on to other projects until I finish this. So let's finish them. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is take off this patch pocket. I didn't film it, but I sewed this patch pocket on and seam ripped it off like 2 or 3 times at least, and it still like is just a bit warped. You can see that it's not quite even, like the distance on either side, and I did try and center it, but as I was trying to, I just kind of kept pulling the fabric taut. I have a pocket. It's a really decent sized pocket. I don't need the patch pocket, and frankly, I don't really like how it looked in the end, so I'm gonna take that off. Next order of business, I'm gonna unpick the hem because I pressed the stripes to different places by accident, so I need to fix that anyway, and they're a little bit too short. So I'm just gonna unpick it and leave it raw for the moment. And then we're gonna see if I can take in the inseam, and hopefully that will make these a bit more flattering. So let's give it a go. Turn it back the right way. Oh no. Okay, good news. I hate them less. I still kind of hate them, but I hate them less, and that is progress. So I have literally just taken in the inseam an inch. I might even take in the inseam just a little bit more, because like there's still room. There's still, you know, wide leg trousers, but because I'm so small, anything is gonna look wide legged on me, and the pattern being horizontal, it's gonna look a bit wide. Let's say like 1.5 inches off the inseam. I'll do that on both the outer and the lining, and then I'll hem it again, and then they'll be done. I still don't think I'm gonna do a reveal for these because they are kind of a flop in my opinion. I'm just trying to make them at least like wearable, that I might feel like I want to wear them every so often. Try it with the waistcoat. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. They're just not my favorite thing I've ever made. I think they are just a little bit wide in the hips. It's fine. I'm just gonna fix them. I'm gonna finish them, and then I'm gonna move on to a project that I'm excited about. So it'll be okay. So I'm not sure how, but clearly I've cut the lining a bit too short because this is all lined up really nicely. I've like, you know, smoothed it down. I can never say that word, smoothed. But yeah, it doesn't reach. I might just have to be annoying and like leave the lining free floating. So I'll like double turn this, tack it to itself. I'll do the same with the fashion fabric. I'll just have to tuck that under because I've pressed it really nicely. So I'll have a nice clean hem there. It's gonna be really annoying because then I'll have to do it like 2 different ways, but I would rather that and have the seam nicely finished than try and like pull this down and warp the top, because I think that might have been part of the problem too. I think I had pulled this and then the, you know, obviously the fashion fabric kind of got like pulled up and it wrinkled. Anyway, all that to say, I'm gonna spend ages hand sewing this now, but that's my own fault, so good job me. I have done 1 leg of the trousers, or at least, you know, that bit. I need to do this. What I realized is that doing it with a free lining, it wouldn't cover up these seams, and if this like just pulls up in the wash, the seams could like start unraveling. This fabric doesn't fray all that much, but this one does. And you can see this is already starting to like come apart a little bit and it's fraying. Luckily, this is a striped fabric. I'm gonna smooth it out as best as I can and then line it up with the closest stripe, which I think will probably be this one. And then I will do a catch stitch all the way along this stripe, and I'll try and hide that as best as I can in the stripe. From there, I'll just finish this seam. I'll just turn it this way or whatever, and I'll fell it. So that hopefully nothing will show from the outside, but the seams will be covered enough that when I throw it in the wash, because this is gonna go in the wash at some point probably, like I'm not gonna hand wash this. But when it's washed, no seams will be exposed, which is the most important thing if I'm actually gonna wear these, which I still haven't decided if I am. So here's what I've done. I folded under the lining just like a centimeter, maybe, probably less, and I just catch stitched that down so that from the outside, that's like virtually invisible. I don't even know if you can see the stitches, just a little bit, but obviously you won't be able to tell when I'm actually wearing the trousers. And then the seam allowance that was left between the lining and the hem, I just double folded it in and tacked that down on both sides. So now I just have to do that on the other leg and then we'll be done. Alright, we are gonna do this reveal old school because I don't really have time to go and film a proper reveal in a very nice aesthetic place. So I'm just gonna show you the final thing. Here we go. And there we are. I don't hate them. I don't love them. They're still just like not the most flattering thing I've ever made. I'll give you a better view when I set the camera down, but let's try it with the waistcoat and see how I feel about it. And here it is with the waistcoat, which was kind of the whole point of this. I don't actually like hate it as an ensemble. I kind of like it. I'm getting like a little bit of, I don't know, bunching. They're just not the most flattering thing I've ever made, but they are wearable. Next winter, when it starts to get a bit cold again, yeah, I could see myself wearing these occasionally. Part of what I don't like is that the placket is just sticking out weirdly, and I don't think that's helping like this weird like wide hip situation, because my hips are actually like, they're right here. This is the widest part of my hips, and there's not that much room there, but these trousers make it look like my hips are so much wider than they are, and they aren't. I like the waistcoat, but that's not really the point of this video, is it? I made the trousers to match the waistcoat that I'd made ages ago. Let's give you like a full 360. There we go. They are at least the right length now, so that's a plus. Yeah, it is bunching slightly, and I think that's because I took in the inseam, like that was just gonna happen, but I like them a lot better than I did before, so it's an improvement. Oh well. Alright, let's wrap this thing up. Let's start with the positives. I made a pair of trousers. They sure do exist. And now that I've made one pair, I think I'll know how to go about making more in the future. Because I do want to use this pattern again, but I think I might even go down one more size than what I eventually went down to, because there's still, I mean, you saw that I had to take them in, and I think obviously it would have been a lot easier to take them in before I sewed in the placket and the pocket and all of the its. Actually, let's talk about the pattern. It is a good pattern, I think, and I really like that it was a vintage 1940s pattern, because again, that was not something that I've done before, and so that was really cool to try and use a vintage pattern. That was fun. So it is a good pattern, I think. It's just that the sizing is so far off, and I still don't entirely understand why that is. If somebody knows why the size that they gave me was too big, let me know, because I don't know why it was so much bigger than it should have been. I mean, what they said the size should be based on my measurements, and I know my measurements, and I did check the pattern multiple times to make sure I was using the right size, but clearly that was too big. So what I've learned is I think next time I use a commercial pattern, I'm probably gonna measure the pieces myself and figure out what the final garment size will actually be, minus the seam allowance and the darts and whatever, because yeah, I don't think what they said on the envelope was accurate. If I'd done that earlier, then I wouldn't have had to retrace my piece, and I would have had a better idea of how it was actually going to fit when I did the mock-up. So yeah, I think I would do that in the future. Going forward with commercial patterns, I think I'll do that and just double check that the measurements are actually what they say they are. Again, if you know why they weren't correct, let me know, because I don't entirely understand that. I have also learned to be very careful of how you're placing your pieces when you use a patterned fabric. Horizontal stripes are not my friend. I think these trousers definitely would have looked better if I had just cut the pattern with the more prominent stripes going vertically instead of horizontally. Even if they didn't match the waistcoat in the end, I think I would have just liked the look of them better, because the optical illusion, I feel like, is what is making these trousers look so strange on me, and so much wider than they actually are. I think it is literally just that optical illusion of the horizontal stripes. Lesson learned, moving on. Oh, also, this is a little thing, but I think next time I do buttonholes by machine, I'm gonna do the buttonholes first and then line it up with the placket and then sew on the buttons. When I was doing the buttonholes, I didn't quite follow the line I had marked. It was just ever so slightly off. And I know that that's user error. I haven't had a whole lot of practice with doing buttonholes by machine yet, so I know that that's on me, but because I'm still learning to do the buttonholes by machine, and because I did the buttons first, they don't match perfectly, and I think that's why I'm getting that weird little pucker at the bottom of the placket. There is an easy solution to this. I could literally just take off the buttons and then re-sew them on, matching them up exactly with the buttonholes that I've made. The buttonholes are a little bit wonky, but once the buttons match, I won't get that little pucker anymore. I might do that if I decide that I really hate these trousers trousers come next fall. Going forward, if I do buttonholes by machine, I'll do the buttonholes first, then I'll sew the buttons on, just to make sure that everything ends up lining up okay. I think that's about everything. Overall, I think this was a good first attempt at trousers. I have to like be kind to myself and remember that I've never made trousers before, so obviously there was gonna be some, you know, there were gonna be some mishaps. That's the way anytime I make something brand new for the first time. And that's okay. I still consider myself like a beginner to intermediate sewist. I would call this like intermediate. I mean, the pattern came together pretty easily. Overall, the instructions make sense. The pattern was pretty easy to follow, so if you go into it knowing that there's a lot of built-in ease or whatever the answer is to why the measurements don't match up, then yeah, I guess I could recommend this pattern for beginners. This was my first time making trousers. They weren't going to be entirely perfect. I think it was a good first attempt, and I'll have a better idea of what to do next time. That's the best thing about sewing and making your own clothes. If you make mistakes, a lot of times you still end up with something wearable, but you know what to do next time, and every mistake that you make gets you closer to making garments that you really love and that fit you perfectly and that make you feel, you know, pretty or handsome or whatever adjective you want to use to describe yourself. Whatever makes you feel good in the clothes that you're wearing. Every mistake that you make while you're sewing something that gets you closer to the next thing being even better. So, lessons learned there. Wise words from Rashali today. I surprised myself. Yeah, I think I will probably try this pattern again. I'll give it another go. I think I would really like to make some linen trousers for summer because linen is a really great breathable fabric, but linen is expensive, and if you know me, you know I tend to make things out of thrifted bed sheets, so we'll see if I ever actually get around to that. I'm not gonna make any promises. But the next project that you will be seeing, I do have a really fun project in mind, and I've actually already started making the video for it and working on that project, so hopefully you'll be seeing that soon. Upload schedule, never heard of her. So thank you for coming along on this trousers making adventure. That's really hard to say, hold on. So thank you for coming along on this trousers making adventure. Oh my god. I don't know why trousers making adventure is like such an awkward thing to say. I don't know how to say that. I can't say pants because I live in the UK now and pants are something different. Thank you for coming along on this trousers making adventure. I hope it was fun for you. It was fun for me. And I will see you next time. Bye! God, thumbnails are so awkward. Ow.